Time's in here. Um, Here's a trans day today. Got myself all up in the middle of the controversy over Ashley Preston's vendetta against Caitlyn Jenner. I was just about to make a video reading some of the stuff that's been going on, but I have a crisis I need to deal with, and one of the topics of discussion was, well, what did you do for the transgender? You know, who are you to speak against this person who does all this blah blah whoop whoop for the transgender community? Who are you? What have you ever done? Well, you're about to find out. L'chaim. I'm not even going to tell you. Let you figure it out.
Thank you for calling the New London Police Department. Please listen closely as menu options have changed. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. If you know your party's 4-digit extension, you may dial it at this time. To use our dial by name directory, press pound. To report a new non-emergency, press 0 or remain on the line through the following menu. Wait while I transfer your call.
Hi, I hope so. I'm actually calling from Tucson, and I'm wondering if you have like a mental health officer available I can speak with for a moment.
A mental health about what?
There's a transgender woman who had to flee from an abusive roommate this morning, and she was unable to get housing tonight. She says she's from New London, and she's parked outside of a homeless shelter that she can't get into without police authorization. When I asked her if the police knew she was there, she said, no, they got bigger problems than me. I don't know. I don't think she has any like serious mental health issues. She's a veteran, and she's in the care, VA care. I'm not a service.
Yeah, if she's by the homeless center, all she has to do is go over to the police station. We run her, see if she's wanted. If she's not wanted, and she's not a registered sex offender, they give her a pass to the shelter. So she has to come over to the police station.
Okay. If she doesn't want to do that, is she going to be okay sleeping in her car overnight?
That's up to her. I can't guarantee anything.
Well, is she going to be all right? She's not going to get rousted by you guys, is she?
If they see her in the car sleeping, they probably will.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that she'll be able to get into the shelter tonight if she just comes to the police station? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Cool.
She should be able to.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Happy day.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that's hopefully that's out of the way. Let's see what else is going on, or can I concentrate on this? Let's go find. Let's let's get back to what I was planning on doing. Um, yeah, hello. Where's some of the comments on that? I had a really wonderful discussion with somebody on Rachel Lukey's wall over this. Here it is, Tanya Botello. She's not from the East Coast. Um, Here's Rachel Rose Lukey. She supports her removal. Caitlyn Jenner is canceled, will no longer be receiving an award at Trans Film Festival. As a story from intomore.com. Here's the comments. Good riddance to her. I do not agree with her politics, but she has legitimate concerns and has brought a lot of visibility to our cause and created some very needed discussion. This also helped expose the agenda of the FRC and other religious extremists. I don't see anything wrong with recognizing her. We can be petty as cis females if someone does not fall in line. You know, as we can be as petty as we got cattier. Worse than cis females. There's so much cliquishness among, you know, and that's what this is around. Is this Ashley Preston character? She has never done anything to promote LGBT cause. Instead, she aligned herself with the Orange Liar, who has been on a vengeance to repeal anything that protected the LGBT community. And they're running scared. Here's someone. She does not recognize the trans community, and she never has. It was all about herself. Everything that she has done has been very harmful toward the community. And I come in here, including over $1 million donated to advocacy groups and healthcare providers last year. What's Ashley Preston given besides a lot of very vulgar lip service? St. John's was just thanking her for the $50K she gave them. So here comes one of Ashley's pals, Blossom Chriselle Brown. I'll get accused of something. She tagged me, which means she's posting from her phone. Hit the reply button, and then didn't remove it. One thing you will not do is insult my sister. First of all, what have you done from this community except sit here and rot in your own privilege? Nothing! 4 exclamation points in caps. Second, how dare you come after someone who at least cares about community as a whole? No, she doesn't. She cares about herself and her black privilege as a victim. Were you a part of any dialogue that has taken place recently? Yes. I witnessed her being really stupid and really vulgar on Lexi Cann's wall, along with a bunch of her other friends. I don't think so. Stop being a troll and grow up. Blossom Chriselle Brown, one thing I will not do is lower myself to respond in kind to an angry, racist person making irrational noises, speculating on my validity to speak about transgender people. I am involved in the global conversation from my position as a nonpartisan intersex person in the Tucson music and arts community. I witnessed Ashley and her friends behaving disgracefully on Lexi Cann's wall when Lexi criticized the petition for being divisive and self-defeating, misgendering and dead-naming CJ. One of them even called her an it. Rather than defending her position to me when I questioned the value of the petition, Ashley unleashed a stream of racist, misandrous, and phallophobic invective at me, blocking me before I could respond, just as I expect you will be doing in the next little while. Tommy, you have already stooped down to the lowest of the low. If you Google me, you will find out that I was the one that Caitlyn helped on her show. Sweetheart, I've done international work in the field. So you can never muster up to those who actually do good work in the community. By the way, black people can't be racist. I did not sign the petition, but I will be damned if you think you'll trash my sister. Your sister trashed herself, baby. Don't be talking privilege and stooping low while using alphabet's terms like sweetheart with me. And stop deluding yourself with that nonsense about black people not being racist. Your sister trashed herself to Lexican's circle of friends. I was just reporting on it. Play your oppression Olympics on some other neoliberal fascist. I didn't sign up for those games. And here's someone. There's a reason her show was canceled. This was my comment to it. I feel the divisiveness of Ashley Preston and her friend's racist, trans, misogynistic resentment of CJ's whiteness and wealth are far more harmful to the community than anything CJ has said. They were on Lexican's wall last week, viciously vilifying her, dead-naming and misgendering her, and anybody supporting Lexi's position that the petition was an example of us eating our own. One of them even referred to CJ as an it before Lexi got mad and blocked her. Ashley responded to all criticism with irrational insults and blocking when the insults didn't have the desired effect. And here comes Blossom again. Now, this is the second problematic thing you've said. Apparently, you are as asleep as they come. Conversations about whiteness is important when you talk about power, privilege, and prestige. You need to sit your butt down and listen and learn. I grew up in the ghetto, bitch. Don't talk to me about that shit. No one is here to baby feed you today, lady. At least you didn't misgender me. You need to respond to my assertions without irrational ad hominem fallacy bullshit, and don't get on the white privilege nonsense when you have Laverne Cox, Oprah Winfrey, and Colin Powell out there sucking on Lady Liberty's power, prestige, and privilege nipple while paying it forward to Uncle Scam. I had to reword that, boy. I got really vulgar. You know. I had to think that one over. Let's see if I can get it out. Don't get on the white privilege nonsense when you have Laverne Cox, Oprah Winfrey, and Colin Powell out there sucking on Lady Liberty's power, prestige, and privilege nipple while paying it forward to Uncle Scam. Don't be talking to me about any LGBTQ rainbow if you're going to get mired down in black and white. And I inserted Morgan Freeman's statement about racism to Mike Douglas. And here's Bish. Nobody said anything about a rainbow flag. I'ma need your racist self to have several states. You don't even understand half the stuff you wrote. Yeah, the fuck you say, you stupid cunt. You stupid wish you had a cunt. So, there's people like you that are making this country practically detrimental. Girl, find somebody else to play with. I have no time to waste on intellectually dishonest and seriously racist transgender TWOC. And rave on, sister sludge. Have a nice life. Far from me, Felicia. So here's somebody who gave a this is where it got interesting. Okay, well, just a moment. Brishaline's checking in. Oh, where'd my mouse go? Son of a bitch. Fuck. Did it get stuck? Shit. Yep. Fucking pinned mouse. Son of a bitch. Oh, there we go. Yay. This thing's been I don't trust either of them. I don't trust either of them. Anyway, where were we? That's the nothing I do for the community. So here's somebody saying her GOP ways are finally coming home to roost, so to speak. Mm. Anyway, where were we? So here's if she wants the community, if she needs to rethink her political views, if she wants the community to accept her. So my question: who is this community you speak of? The trans kids adore her, and there are a whole mess of late bloomers expressing gratitude to her for giving them the courage to come out. The circle of intersex and transsexual activists and authors I'm networked with are pretty much accepting her as sincere but misinformed, needing to shut up and listen for a change. The people loudly condemning her do not speak for me, and the people in the transgender community I consider myself to be a part of never misgender and dead-name trans people they don't like. Bambi Salcido made an excellent point in the Blade article dealing with this brouhaha about how CJ needed to actually get out on the street without a whole entourage. And then I got a link to the article I'm going to read when I'm done with this thread. And here's a sister, this is Tanya. He said, maybe you're just not getting it, but please tell me how aligning yourself against gay marriage, aligning yourself with Donald Trump and his administration, who continue to destroy our civil liberties, and being as rich as can be is representative of the average trans population. Well, it's not. I know that. It doesn't matter if she evolved her positions or fessed up, or what other verbiage and logic loops it takes to get there. But the fact is that she stood against the very foundations of what makes the trans community what it is. Well, yeah, we know, but we're hoping she's going to learn. She's not a role model. She's 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 a role model for a certain kind of person, and y'all are just not that kind of person, and that's the way that is. She don't speak for me. She's on the other end of the socio-political spectrum from me. But that doesn't make, and she's never mind. I don't want to go there. She's, it's also detrimental to who we are because how many people in the general public will think the gender situation is what is representative of us as a whole? How many average people, trans people, do you think can afford $20,000 to $50,000 for required and cosmetic surgeries? The fuck, the bitch spent $50,000 on her hair, and who knows how much those hideous titties cost? Eventually I'm gonna get dentures. We're fighting with the insurance company about taking the blade out of my jaw. You know who is a good representative of the trans community? That trans person who had to crawl out of the dark pits of despair brought on by homelessness due to being disowned by their family, who clawed and scratched their way up the ladder of life to forge a family and a life for themselves while living paycheck to paycheck as who they are, while being consistent in their views about Donald Trump, Republicans, since day one, and advocating for their lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer kith and kin. That person is a representative of the trans community. Well, show me one. Not Caitlyn Jenner, period. End of story. He said, I understand your concerns about her, Tanya. And I take her to task for that too. What you folks intend on vilifying her don't seem to get is how eating your own is self-defeating. The biggest threat to transgender, now this is my opinion, the biggest threat to transgender equality is not the extremist Christians in the Trump administration of the lobbying groups, but the lateral hostility and relational bullying across the LGBTQ spectrum, making us all look like a bunch of self-loathing, whiny freaks to the generally brain-dead, media-consuming zombie wage slaves. We're a very tiny minority, and without solidarity under the transgender umbrella, will never generate the political clout we need to defeat all the hate bills and get protective legislation enacted. Stand united or fall divided. Your choice. Not all white people are privileged, and there are plenty of over-affluent blacks. The biggest threat, here's Tanya again, the biggest threat to transgender equality is the lack of real education, both in terms of LGBTQ and in general sex education in this country, instead of so many Americans still looking at sex and discussions of it as taboo. No argument from me. I know, the biggest, that's the hippies have a problem with big, bigger, and biggest. It's all good. It's all big. and it's insignificantly big against infinite systems. So it's like, it's all the same. It's just different to you because you've got a different angle on it. Extremist Christians, Trump administration is a close second, followed by friends and allies who do far more damage to public outlook on transgender people than good. Not sure what that means. Who needs enemies when you have friends like Caitlyn Jenner? Let me put it this way. Every group, every community, every subculture has people within it that are just not the best people in the world. They do their community or subculture a disservice by their being vocal and trying to be representative of the communities in which they seek to represent. I don't know if Caitlyn's really trying to do that so much, though. She's repeatedly said that she's not. She's representing her own shit. And it's the press that's painting her that way. Just because someone is gay or lesbian does not automatically mean that we must unite with that person if they're an asshole. I'm not the type of person who puts their foot around things, but just because someone is trans doesn't mean they can't be an asshole as well. Caitlyn was an asshole prior to transition and remains an asshole thereafter. We got no argument with me on that one. We don't wish to unite with her. Why? I saw a beautiful story that shows how much of an asshole she is. I don't feel like telling it tonight because I don't remember the whole story in detail. Just that she took a call on a podium with a group seminar. She's on the podium with somebody. She took a call while this person, about 4 or 5 other people, and she took a call right there on the stage. Just turned her back to everything and talked to the person on the phone for where she was sitting. We don't wish to unite with her. We vilify her, as you stated, because most of us are aware that if she tries to do something viewed as morally right, she's stupid enough to skew it with her words and actions and bring the wrong kind of limelight upon the trans community, as she's done several times before. This is not a new thing. I can't get behind assholes. I can't unify with assholes. I'm sure our community will get its act together and unify for the most part to send a clear message. But first, we need people who do us more harm than good to shut the hell up first before we can really tackle the institution of oppressive politics against the LGBT communities. That's my opinion. Feel free to disagree with it. Admittedly, I live in a bit of a bubble. Anyway, back to this. I probably should search old ic.org for Richland tonight. Let's get back to this. Admittedly, I live. Ah, geez. She's a shelter that they house pre-ops with men. And she's not going to go in there. So anyway, back to this. Admittedly, I live in a bit of a bubble in downtown Tucson because I face none of the difficulties my trans siblings report from all over, which is why I feel the infighting is such a serious threat. We're winning in the polls and in the courtrooms. The only thing I really disagree with you on is flinging poo at assholes. I think it's better to just ignore them. Bruce Jenner was a useful idiot, a self-consumed attention whore who was constantly stepping on his dick because he was so much of a dumbass. Caitlyn Jenner is no different, but to be fair to her, it is the press who is trying to paint her as a spokesperson. She's repeatedly stated that she's not trying to do that. Now that she has no dick to step on, she waffles out of her gaffes by writing it off as a blonde moment. But she wants to help all of us, and she's definitely putting her money where her mouth is, quietly donating well over $1 million last year. This award was an appreciation for $50K that she had given and some time she had donated to St. John's. Personally, I feel like it's in our best interest to humor her a little. She could ultimately turn into a voice of change for the Republican Party and kick down to one of the advocacy groups I'm working with. Like I said earlier, the position among the more gracious and less pugnacious trans folks toward her is that she's a legitimate transgender person regardless of her politics, and we must respect that. The way Ashley and her friends were referring to her on Lexi's wall was disgraceful and looks very bad to cis hetero people in Lexi's reader base, especially trans misogynist conservatards, because it gives them support for their arguments. You are presenting the argument against her that is acceptable to us older trans folks. Her political position is definitely not acceptable to the overall movement, and we're hoping she can be educated. If she doesn't want to listen, that's on her, and will only cost her access to the community. Bambi Salcido called it when she said CJ needs to come out and be with her siblings without the cameras and entourage and meet us as equals. That's too intimidating for a lot of people, and she doesn't seem to be ready for that and isn't responding to any of my overtures or anybody else I know in the second rank or lower in the trans advocacy pecking order. I get accused of tone policing when I talk this way, but I think it's crucial for us to be respectful to each other, especially when there is a diametric opposition between you and the object of your disaffection. We need to rise above all the petty foibles and follies of the heteronormative, strictly cisgender rules of social intercourse in Judeo-Christian imperialist, industrial fascist civilization. The Caitlyn bashing violates the commandment, thou shalt not air thy dirty laundry in public. And Tanya came back with, well, I've been referred to as an old school trans woman, probably because I'm over 35, lol. But yeah, sounds like you and I have very similar viewpoints. We just differ a bit on execution when it comes to assholes in our community, which is fine, because slight disagreements on how to deal with assholes makes our community stronger. I do wholeheartedly agree that attacking her, degrading her, and misgendering her in such a manner does us no favors as a community as well. I simply think she's a rich, elitist asshole who might one day in the future fall from grace and see how the rest of us live. Personally speaking, I hope she shuts up, gets out of the limelight, and leaves talking to folks who really represent the trials and tribulations that trans people go through all throughout this country. As for your tone policing, honestly, I don't feel like you came across as that, at least with me. But I'm an immensely strong-willed person who can be brutally honest and blunt with people. I'm the very definition of not putting up with anybody's BS, and I'll call a spade regardless. Well, I'll take it one step further. I'll call a nigger a nigger. So, and it doesn't have to be a black person either. It's like, you know, if someone's being a nigger, it's like, nigger, please, just stop, go away. Might be might be me being a Scorpio, or just because of what I went through earlier in life. Anyway, good talk. And I laughed. You've been part of the enemy for 5 years already, the millennial brats who want to punch out Nazis in some kind of oppression Olympics and purity politics. I'd imagine our both being transgender Scorpios had something to do with our similar viewpoints on this. My birthday's November 3rd. You wouldn't be left-handed too by any chance. To be honest, I'm called Crazy Tommy by the Rainbow family because when I was your age, my companion and I were not creatures to be messed with at all. We were the Shantasina, or peacemakers, who came running into trouble at gatherings and festivals, getting right up in between combatants. More than once, we had to get between cops and people, and that's how I earned the Crazy Tommy. That's how I earned the Crazy Tommy handle in the first place. I'm too old and broken for that shit anymore, and the dogs are long gone. I'm also a pretty notorious old school troll from the Usenet days, when trolling consisted of posting volatile media and asking rhetorical questions about it, sure to spark a flame war. In the old academic setting over slow modems, that was cool because people would be giving well thought out answers rather than the personal attacks and stupid memes pushing the party line we have in this wide open, completely unregulated broadband era. I quit that too when I realized that I was alienating the people I wanted to reach, and all I had for friends was aggressive idiots who just happened to agree with my BS, belief systems. Taking the high road in political disagreements on public forums works much better for me. I'm a hippie. It's got to be funner. Fuck it. The nicer I am about things I don't like, the better people receive it. Happy day, peace, Tommy Jane. Okay, now let's take a quick look at Risleen. Yeah, we started the Rainbow Family Trans Sisters group one night when Tammy Ann Matthews, pre-op Tammy Ann Matthews, pulled one of those I'm going to kill myself kind of posts and disappeared for a few hours. And all her friends freaked out. And I was kind of new on the scene and had been involved with the Rainbow Family Crisis Intervention on stuff like that over the years and mobilized a bunch of people to go looking for her in North Carolina. If we could have tried to, and this group came together. And it's basically for crisis intervention like this, Recently had to bail out, she's I don't know what her diagnosis is, but she's in psychotherapy and sees a therapist regularly. And she's with the VA, so no telling what kind of drugs she's on. Yeah. I don't know where. Nobody's, hardly anybody's. The only person who even noticed this was Margaret Jones, and she's too far away. Be okay. Apparently, this Opal Drusilla I reported for harassment. I mean, she got real. You heard how ugly she got. It's like come on. I get blocked for making off-color remarks about myself. The last time I got blocked was for using the word tranny in public, trying to tell people how stupid it was to get bent out of shape every time a gay comic told a tranny joke, which was what was going on. Was they were bent out of shape about a gay comic who told a tranny joke. I just got off that block, and I'm afraid to engage anybody, especially in transgender pages or the rainbow pages, because they're all a bunch of snitches. Okay, Rachel Maddow is telling us to pay attention. You need to pay attention to what's really going on in among lawmakers. HR 861. All of these bills have been introduced this week in the House of Representatives. HR 61 to terminate the Environmental Protection Agency. HR 610 vouchers for public education. Like to breathe? This one's not for you. Which may end free public education as we know it. HR 899 to terminate the Department of Education, which may lead to greater disparity between states, but nobody who uses public education ever moves it, so it's all good. HR 69 to repeal the rule protecting wildlife. Nobody likes nature anyway, right? HR 370 to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Didn't we already try this umpteen times? HR 354 to defund Planned Parenthood because exactly none of your tax dollar goes toward abortion services. HR 785, national right to work. This one is actually a right to fire you whenever your boss feels like it. Law would effectively end unions. HR 83, mobilizing against sanctuary cities bill. California should just secede now and take all its money. HR 147, to criminalize abortion, prenatal non-discrimination act, because for these private decisions should be made by your legislator and employer. HR 808, to impose sanctions against Iran, even though they are in compliance with the agreement, according to those in the know. Copy and paste. Okay, I will do that. Of course, I don't. Rachel Maddow, she's almost as bad. She's a liberal version of Ann Coulter. She's so full. She's just as full of shit as Ann Coulter, but from the liberal side of it. It's like they're like it's like they're like sisters. They hate each other. and they both look like dudes. And Michael Obama. The people that are getting screwed on the toilet wars more than anybody else are. I need to get back to this. I want to read this. This is probably getting long already. How long have I been doing this? Oh yeah, we're up to 40 minutes. Yeah, this is going to be an hour one at least, because it's going to take a little while to read this puppy. It's a long one. Let's find it. Oh, this was good. Here's some Rainbow Family news. Man threatens to blow up bar after they won't accept a rock as payment. This was actually a couple of years old. It was an incident that happened in Tallahassee with a kid from up north who was on his way to party with the Rainbow family, with the Rainbow people in the National Forest. While there, he attempted to pay his $10 tab at the sports bar with a rock. And that was the most sane and responsible thing he did all night. Abs, a bartender at Fourth Quarter Bar and Grill, rejected Jared Simpson's offer to exchange a rock and actual stone of no special description for his Bud Light draft. He threw a ripped-up dollar bill at her and left the building, promising to pay her in other ways, WCT reported. Simpson came back with a credit card, but it was declined, so he left again. He then returned a third time, dressed in a gray suit and carrying a briefcase. He set the briefcase down and carefully opened and closed it. According to a police report, he spoke some unknown words that he identified as tongues and warned everyone in the bar that anyone who goes near this briefcase will die. Then he pulled out a phone or beeper, menacingly mashed some buttons, and ran across the street. Even though he'd earlier been carrying crutches and telling stories about being shot up in the war, witnesses said they saw him doing handstands outside Jalisco's. When police arrived, everyone was gathered outside the bar, away from the possible bomb. Simpson approached the crowd and the cops cuffed him. An officer asked what was in the briefcase, and a smiling Simpson replied, "Maybe a bomb or a baby." It was neither, a bomb squad later determined. Simpson shut down any further questioning by singing a song about being a rainbow man and telling cops, "I am my own master. I answer to no one. No police have the right to ask questions." While sitting in the back of the patrol car, he managed to remove 3 screws from his handcuffs and get his arms out from behind his back, but he couldn't get entirely free of the cuffs. He's now in a Leon County jail on charges of bomb threats, hoax weapons of mass destruction, and theft. He never did pay for his beer. He's waiting a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation, oh, you don't say, before he can be released on bail. In other words, it was just another Wednesday night in Tallahassee. Okay, what's going on here? Good thing I have some extra money right now. I hope I don't get screwed out of it like the last time. I don't have as much. I got screwed out of $300. Okay, we want to get back to this article. We want to read that article. Pay no attention to that shit. She's okay. She's got other people she's talking to. Oh, good, Michelle. Good. Yay, thanks, Michelle. Listen, we'll get back to this one after I read the article because Michelle responded to it. Michelle Rose, who's a writing professor, teaches creative writing or something, and she gets very verbose. When she gets her dander up, she gets going. Okay, where the hell did the article go? Well, I know how we can find it again real quick. Oh, yeah? Right on, Michelle. This is going to be good. I'm going to read hers too. She said it. She said it real well. It's like it's a couple of attention-seeking people. One of them on the low end of this of the financial spectrum, and the other one on the high end. Is all it is. Is what's going on, and they're getting ugly about it. Trans community tries to heal after Caitlyn Jenner controversy. Meeting face-to-face was decidedly different from blame-throwing on social media, as about 50 people crowded into the emergency trans community meeting at St. John's Well Child and Family Center on Friday night. Anticipation was high. Would sparring leaders bash each other in person or respect Mother Karina enough to settle down? Really listen to each other and try to heal from hurt before celebrating everyone's hero, Jasmine Nicola Creighton. Trans superstar Laverne Cox is presenting the actress, activist, model, and spiritual leader with the Marsha P. Johnson Trailblazer Award Saturday night at the Trans Nation Eleganza Gala at the Cicada Club. So that's what it was about. They were afraid that Caitlyn was going to steal the show from this sister. Legitimate concern, but they got too ugly, and it really was. I really feel like it was harmful to the community, the whole thing, and it still hasn't really settled down. Oh, there's my sack. Should it fall off the table? Should I put it somewhere? Oh. Oh. I'll have to get in here and just grab the bud. Okay. So despite all the issues and obstacles Hollywood has historically presented, Jasmine, a trailblazer herself, is grateful for the transgender talent that has come before her. Following the passings of Holly Woodlawn, Lady Chablis, and Alexis Arquette, Jasmine honors trans pioneers and legends. They opened doors and kept doors open so that the rest of us can continue to walk through them. They did their job and did it so well that it allowed people to start thinking about us, putting us on their radar. They did it so well that they brought a joy, dignity, and pride to being a person of trans experience. Addison Rose Vincent wrote about Jasmine on HuffPost. But the strife around this year's Trans Nation Festival, a benefit for the unique and critical free transgender health care program at St. John's Well Child and Family Center in South Los Angeles, was so intense. Karina Samala, a highly regarded trans activist for more than 20 years, called a community meeting to air grievances and initiate healing with Riku Mitsuda, who works for the LA County Human Relations Commission, serving as facilitator. Well, I bet that was a wild meeting. You know, I could appreciate the difficulties that inner city people are having, trans people and LGBT people, and all I can do is just thank Spirit for guiding me, letting me be born in the neighborhood and learning how to navigate safely through the world as a queer. I managed to never get raped successfully and never get beat up really for being queer. I never really had a hard time for being queer until after I came out. I was too pretty when I was young. I got bullied a lot, but I had a wicked laugh, so I didn't go very far. and I just managed to always live in progressive enough communities where it didn't matter that I was an effeminate man. I didn't have to like be constantly proving my macho around hippies. So I was able to survive in male mode without killing myself or killing anybody else for so long. I mean, this was something that a lot of the younger transsexuals were questioning us about. How did you live with a penis for so long? I said, well, you get used to it after a while. You beat it into submission a lot. Um, just get it to shut up. That's all. Um, Matsuda established rules that all agreed to abide by, including no cell phones, no recordings or video, and no identified direct quotes to the press or on social media. The exception was Jim Mangia, who could speak briefly and in general terms as the out CEO of St. John's. Therefore, this story has been constructed from pre-community meeting interviews, transcripts, or citation from public utterances on Facebook and background conversations with participants. The LA transgender community is not monolithic. As with other minority communities, there is infighting prompted by political differences, intrigue, gossip, racism, classism, ageism, let's not forget and all the other isms that plague the larger society. As the play and film Boys in the Band documented so well, sometimes the attacks can be vicious and soul wounding. But unlike past battles, deep claw fighting on social media in the era of Donald Trump can spread and generate more chaos, misunderstanding, and retaliation than ever before. These cuts, often posted on Facebook in the heat of an argument, can cut to the bone and leave a festering infection. That's what happened after the TransNation production team selected Caitlyn Jenner for an honor alongside Jasmine. Jenner had been given 2 checks for her foundation totaling $50,000 to St. John's Transgender Program and served as a judge for the Eleganza beauty pageant last year without incident, though there were scattered boos when her name was announced. Well, that's okay. Getting up in her face and screaming at her, isn't it? That's what happened after the TransNation production team selected Caitlyn Jenner for an honor alongside Jasmine. Jenner had given Jenner came out as a Trump-supporting Republican during her reality TV show I Am Kate, but it was clear she was clueless about Trump's politics. What Trump's politics actually meant was stubbornly certain that she could help. It was often agonizing to watch the brilliant Jennifer Borland and trans diva Chandy Moore trying to educate Jenner about the real ways of the world for trans folk when money can't buy you love. Or a big head of hair, bitch. $50,000 for that. Yeah. I got nicer boobs, and mine are natural. And I didn't have to get my face carved on. And my hands are much smaller. I'll bet my feet are too. Wow, we're into catty. The heat was really on after Trump surprisingly won the election, and Jenner stuck with the MAGA hat, though she continued to evolve, learn about, and contribute to the LGBT community, many of whom viewed her as unwelcome, rich Trump lackey. Even after Jenner blasted Trump for his shocking ban on trans military service members, many in the trans community remained upset with her for allowing the media to portray her as one of the 2 biggest voices in the transgender community. The other was Laverne Cox. Well, hey, I think they're both full of shit. Okay? Laverne Cox don't represent me. None of it. None of that. I ain't buying into that shit. I'm sorry. It's just not me. I'm not no actress, fashion model. I'm a crazy old hippie. I'm actually a biochemist and never got to be a biochemist, and I fell back on the arts. Kind of like Steve Martin. I wasn't making it in the sciences and fell back on the arts. Well, I ain't making it, but at least I'm having fun. The trans community felt that made Eleganza the Caitlyn Jenner show, highlighting her rather than Jasmine. Trans Latina Coalition founder uh, Bambi Salcido says, she would steal the show. We didn't want that, especially since the community didn't recognize her as a voice of the community. The media made her into that. Additionally, Salcido said, the decision to honor Jenner didn't come from the trans staff. Their voice was not counted. Salcido also pointed out another issue, classism. She needs to be a part of the community, to come down from her millionaire status and home in Malibu to meet with ordinary trans people without a camera and entourage, which are intimidating, Salcido says. But that is not in line with Jenner's politics. She supports a party whose main purpose is to continue to demonize us and keep people like us in the margins. And, you know, if anybody, you know, Bambi is the kind of person that Tanya was talking about. I see Bambi as much more of an advocate for the community, someone who's actually had her boots on the ground, done shit for the community, rather than just talk a whole lot of stuff and, you know, as just part of her image, like Laverne and Jenner do. You know, I mean, they're actresses, they're performing artists, and you know, and I'm not, you know, all that impressed with Laverne's womanhood. You know, it's a Hollywood poser. That's not the transgender community either. You know, people like Bambi, people like me and Ariana, you know, struggling artists on the fringe. Um, you know, Lexi, Brent Tannehill, those are more, to me, those are, you know, if you want to talk about leading spokespeople, you could talk to me about Julia Serrano or Brent Tannehill or Lexi Cans, Paris Lee's doing some good work. Who the fuck else? Really putting it out there for all of us. It's not Laverne and you know, it's a fashion show. Jamie Clayton, Laverne Cox. You know, Janet Mock at least has, you know, got some dignity and humility to her and a real artist. You know, she's doing real art. But these are just attention whores. I'm sorry. And Ashley is a wannabe attention whore. And she's just an underclass attention whore. Diana Feliz Oliva, the Transgender Health Program Manager, explained that she was away at the U.S. Conference on AIDS in Washington, D.C. that early September when a Trans Nation Planning Committee apparently thought it was a good idea to honor Jenner's foundation. Program staff member, and the reason for that is that somebody on the planning committee is like the CEO of her foundation. Program staff member Queen Victoria Ortega, a longtime community activist, was also not involved in decision making because she was at the clinic. So Olivia relied on feedback from the meetings, after which she was brought to her trans staff of 8. As you can imagine, I was a little bit shocked, Olivia says, of finding out about the decision made in her absence. She says she was also confused since they'd already agreed upon Jasmine for trailblazing advocacy in the community, and they wanted to keep the event small so people could socialize and dance. But since it was the only foundation supporting the program and the decision had been made, she spoke up but didn't protest. Jenner had previously visited the clinic with the Arcus Foundation and met the staff, who told her how the program was saving and improving lives. Well, Lexi's out and about just noticed a comment of mine on one of her posts. We'll see if she sees any of the tags. Figure something out. Where was I? This was rather long, and it hasn't even got dashed to yet. I mean, they took their shots on Ashley pretty well. Now I got too many tabs open, so the machine's bogging down. I need to close a bunch of stuff down. Shit. If the mouse is frozen, I'm fucked. So I'll have to kill the, give it a moment. I'll go pee. Give it a minute to catch up. It's got too many tabs open, and that's just too much drain on the resources. Looks like the mouse cut loose. No, the mouse is still stuck. Son of a bitch. Oh well. Oh yay. Let's close some of these bitches. Okay, that can go. That can go. That can go. They can all go. No, don't do that one. Get rid of that one. Shit. Killed the Facebook. Jenner couldn't believe more people didn't know about the work and on the spot contributed a check for $25,000. The staff concluded she was nice, but a baby trans who could be educated. They were all about forgiveness and solidarity, especially for someone who'd never experienced being an outcast, says Olivia. They believe in redemption and forgiveness. Indeed, the trans program has been an oasis in the hostile desert of persistent transphobia. The program started after Karina Samala suggested to Mason Davis, then executive director of the Transgender Law Center, that he meet with Jim Mangia, who Samala has known through many years serving on the Imperial Court. The Transgender Law Center had a statewide grant to provide training for staff at federally qualified health centers, but no one wanted to participate. Manja did. With help from a Transgender Advisory Council, he hired and integrated trans staff in all departments, educated all employees and clients, including producing and hanging placards on office walls saying, "Welcome our transgender clients." In 2014, he started a specific, comprehensive medical, dental, and pharmacy transgender health program, including free hormone shots, advocacy, referrals for gender-affirming surgeries, and support programs. In 2015, Manja recruited Oliva from Fresno to run the program. Oliva says she accepted because Manja ran St. John's with a social justice framework. Using her master's in social work from Columbia University, Oliva professionalized the program, and over 2.5 years expanded the client base from 300 to 2,000. This is not a feat you do alone, she says, applauding the Queen Victoria Ortega, with 20 years of experience, as her rock and right hand as well as her staff. Some community members were outraged to learn that Jenner was being honored. They were already very unhappy with the selection of the new David France documentary on the life of Marsha P. Johnson for the Trans Nation Festival. Transgender activist, filmmaker, and writer Rena Gossett had accused France and Teen Vogue of stealing her work, her years of research on Johnson for a film that debuted on Netflix while she was borrowing money to pay rent. They didn't buy France's explanation on Facebook that nothing in the film's concept, research, or execution came from anyone outside of this process or our immediate team. And here we go. Transmedia activist. Now, what the fuck is a job? Am I a transmedia activist? Ashley Marie Preston, who had already publicly challenged Jenner, calling her a humanitarian fraud, took the lead, posting a petition on change.org. The LGBTQ community has given Caitlyn Jenner several attempts to right her wrongs, but her cognitive dissonance and stubborn arrogance have prevented her from formally apologizing to us and vowing to do better, the petition said. Therefore, we, Trans Liberation Now, ask that St. John's Well Child and Family Center rescind their award on or on 10/12/2117. Failure to meet that demand will result in a demonstration at the Alleganza Gala. Yes, we'll eat our own. Preston collected more than 2,000 signatures on the petition. The St. John's staff met with Jenner, after which Jenner said she declined the honor in the spirit of unity and love. She added, "Trans people understand what it's like to be judged for who we are and defined by a world that doesn't understand us. So let's present a united front in support of St. John's Trans Health Program. I am with you and I am here to help." The staff issued a statement acknowledging their mistake. "For us, it has always been about the patients who we serve. We have managed to focus on the human impact over politics. But in today's political climate, we realize that it's increasingly difficult to separate the two, especially because transgender lives are at risk every day under this new administration. This reality has renewed our commitment to work to create positive change and bring members of our community together to heal. That begins with listening to our brothers and sisters," the statement reads in part. But in the meantime, Preston went on a tear on her Facebook page, not only ripping Jenner and St. John's for honoring her, but calling out issues in the LGBT, and trans community. See, that's where the problem is right there. It's like trans people, a transgender has nothing to do with one's sexual orientation. As well, if we're ever going to make progress, it's important that we learn how to sit in the inconvenience of uncomfortability. What we're recognizing is that although we're having difficult conversations, they're conversations that need to be had because we can't heal what we don't reveal, she said on October 16th. That's some nice jingoistic shit. Can't heal what we don't reveal. Get over it. Just stop talking about it or go away. Here's what my problem is. While we're trying to pick up the pieces to all of this mayhem, the decisions are being made by people outside of our community, typically some of the management and typical cisgender white people in organizations that aren't really aware of the consequences and ramifications for the decisions that they make, she said. I deeply, deeply, deeply implore that Jim and management at St. John's really be intentional about how they're serving people of color and the trans community at large. Because one of the things many of us know in the community, but people don't want to say, is that St. John's was supposed to be that knight in shining armor coming on a white horse. That was supposed to be the antithesis to some of the things, to be honest, the Gay and Lesbian Center has become. There were many community centers members that felt that communities of color and trans people and gender nonconforming people and the elderly, that there were people that were being overlooked because the center does so much amazing work. But there's just not enough manpower at times. And so St. John's was going to be somewhat of the antithesis of that. That was going to prioritize us and put us first. And that was going to consider the disproportionate realities that many of us live and take a closer look and examine some of those disparities we face. And then Preston shifts. I feel many of us who've been doing the work for years, we're getting a little tired. We're getting a little weary and we're getting a little complacent, she said. We're taking shortcuts that are ultimately undoing the work that all of our ancestors did before us. Because it's a lot easier to just submit to the crack of the whip and do what Massa says for those funding dollars than it is to be intentional and firm and very compliant with our mission. We continue as trans people to sometimes kind of bite our tongues because many of us who work in the nonprofit industry are only one paycheck away from being in the same position as the demographic we serve. Increasingly, Preston steps over the understood boundaries of protest. On October 18th, having secured the withdrawal of the honor for Jenner, Preston shocks the community with her reaction to the call for a community meeting to air out grievances, heal, and move on. Now make sure your wigs are fastened, bitch. I'm about to go all the way in, Preston says with a smug smile. I love Karina Samala. She's done a lot of amazing work for the community throughout the years. She's been really instrumental in raising funds through the Imperial Court, her pageant system that she's created before. She's served on several boards. I mean, she's really done a lot. However, I think it's very disrespectful that Jim and anyone else at St. John's upper management are typically white cis people. We're not really interested in the voice and the dialogue so much in the community, so much as they are trying to hush us and silence us and censor us, just like what happened when Transnation Film Festival took the comment section off the page because community started to bring forward backlash. And so other people like your sponsors, like HBO and all those other people didn't see it. They just completely took it off. Well, it's getting long. I think there's a lot of us in the community that are complicit as fuck. Complicit, 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 complicit. And I know that Mother Karina, as I call her, and many of us call her, I know she means well, but stop letting Massa send you out to the field to give us messages. If Massa wants us to work harder or do whatever, make Massa bring his motherfucking ass out into the field and tell us himself. There is no reason why Jim continues to send house slaves out to the field to give us messages and try to reconstruct our thoughts and how we feel and what we think and to get us to inevitably do what he wants us to do. It's very simple, and we made it very clear for St. John's Well Child and Family Center. You either rescind or we descend, period, point blank. What a bitch. And she's racist as fuck. And classist, you know, she's got her little, you know, her way of being trans, and anybody who doesn't conform to it, it's like problematic. Queen Victoria Ortega, explains the trans community as a microcosm of what's happening in America today, with the outside world tearing itself apart. It's important to push leaders forward to evolve, she says, especially in terms of valuing an individual's worth based on experience rather than a degree. But at some point, we have to figure out how to work together. We have to develop rules of engagement. And at the end of the day, we have to have the intention to help other trans folk. How do we proceed forward when trans folks don't have the leverage to make systematic change? She says the trans community also must deal with its own issues of intersectionality and suggests the fight between Preston and the trans Latino leadership at St. John's may be akin to the fight between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. when they presented two different ways of approaching black civil rights and liberation. It's upon us. We are accountable to the larger expectations of our community. And that's perhaps why the roughly 50 people stayed in the trans community meeting trying to work things out. It was raw. Hurt feelings were expressed. Some soothed. Preston both apologized for and justified her massive remarks. But did you ladies justify misgendering and dead naming Caitlyn Jenner? Calling her it. What kind of shit is that? It's like if I called you Miss Thang. Manja stayed for the entire 4 hours, apologizing again, explaining his weight of responsibility for the $75 million organization that provides free or low-cost health care to uninsured, undocumented, and 100,000 who live below the poverty level. Additionally, St. John's has sued the Trump administration 3 times over their killing of Obamacare. But while Manja expressed his commitment to the trans community, he didn't share why that commitment comes from his soul. Marsha P. Johnson was not only a friend, but essentially saved him at a critical time in his life. When Manja came out in the 1980s, his family was upset and he left. Marsha Johnson gave me a place to stay while I got on my feet, he says. Additionally, they marched together in every gay pride march, and for years, the drag queens and trans folk marched in front. For 1 year, they forced the drag queens to go to the back. Manja was going to protest, but Johnson told him to round up the 300 people or so from the gay and lesbian caucus he had, and they all went to the back. But as the last contingent, Johnson, fabulous in her gold lame dress and hat, invited all the parade watchers on the sidewalk to watch them. By the time they reached Christopher Street, the crowd had swelled to 10,000. You should have seen the faces of those white boys. It was more people than they'd ever seen before, says Manja. I'll always be grateful to her. She taught me how to be gay and gave me shelter and solace when I came out. For his official quote, Manja said, I was so honored to be a part of this dialogue, which was the first step in healing the hurt and divisions which recently occurred in the trans community. I sincerely apologize and continue to, for any part I or St. John's played in that controversy. I'm so proud of our trans staff and our transgender health program and in the fact that St. John's built this program. And we will eagerly and aggressively continue to participate in this dialogue. We're in this place because of our love for the trans community. And we look forward to coming together tonight at Eleganza, along with Laverne Cox and so many trans leaders, to honor a true trans hero, Jasmine Clayton, and celebrate the power and passion of the transgender community. Karina Samala says she intends to hold more trans community meetings at St. John's in the future, and they are open to the public. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm not part of your trans community out there. The Tucson trans communities doesn't really have any issues like that. We're not facing transphobia. We have solid health care available to us. There's job opportunities available to us. The only thing we really don't have is a venue that we can call our own. Saga's got its meetings. This is really encounter group kind of stuff, and they do some outreach like into the training transgender sensitivity, like Transgender Community Coalition, Tommy Clinton are doing, in Desert Hot Springs, Palm Springs area, in Riverside, Palm Springs, Riverside, there in the upper, the way in to La La Land. Um, I don't know, you know, we don't face that here, so we don't have the kinds of trauma in our community that you folks do in South LA. Um, but this, black on white stuff ain't cutting it. Rich against poor ain't cutting it. Poor against rich. Just let it be. Let people, ignore it. But anyway, let's get along. Let's get back to Michelle's answer because this is beautiful. Um, Dear me, Tommy, as a trans person, you're certainly aware the discussion of gender and or concomitant cluelessness and white heteronormative privilege is an exercise in futility and results in a sour taste no amount of mouthwash will remove. I'm neither for nor against this vendetta for two reasons. It will do precious little good, and who am I to police the actions of anyone in this so-called community? Uh, yeah, you couldn't say it better, baby. uh, CJ, that's what she wants her friends to call her, and she feels comfortable with it. No, I don't regard her as a friend. She has a rather unique position as a trans woman. You may have noticed she's the first trans woman in many centuries to be able to afford a phalanx of bodyguards, and she's also the first trans woman with sufficient prestige to do us real damage, which she already has, because a lot of cishet folks see her as our spokesperson when she is, of course, nothing of the kind, and she knows it. It's not her fault. So if that's the real damage, that's the press doing the damage. She's innocent on that one. Frankly, she has no social brakes on her mouth because she's never had to get a grip on her opinions and admittedly radical perspectives. She says and does really dumb stuff. She always has. We groan and look the other way, but some folks are determined to take her down permanently. They wish to silence her, and although I can understand why, I do not approve of silencing anyone for any reason. Having had some rather influential trans folk attempt to silence me, I can relate in a small way. Well, hey, look at what they do to me for the last 20 years almost on the internet. Vendettas are for folks who have an empty calendar. Have better things to do than police someone's authenticity, public persona, or other commentaries. There's this annoying little amendment to the Constitution that guarantees our universally American right to say exactly as we damn well please, and I'm kind of fond of that amendment. Without it, we would not be having this conversation. There would be knocking on both our doors with grim-faced cops in riot gear doing the knocking. The next sound we hear would be that of our respective doors being smashed into toothpicks. So, is it harmful or beneficial? I don't know. Does her commentary affect you directly? Does it affect anyone in the trans community directly? Yes, she says dumb stuff. Yes, she does dumb stuff like wear a MAGA hat on the day that Trump announced he's banning trans folks from the military. Yes, she's about as bright as a small appliance bulb. Yes, she's privileged and unbelievably wealthy, which is, I suspect, a large part of our dislike for her because she strolled out of her mansion one fine day and dropped $125,000 on surgical procedures. Few of us can afford that. She knows this, yet it does not seem to bother her much. The argument seems that she does more harm than good. I have yet to see direct evidence of that, such as a total stranger accosting me demanding to know why I'm not as feminine and as attractive as her. Nor have any of her comments substantially affected the way we're treated. We've always been treated like shit. Whatever she might add to that disrespect, bigotry, and outright hatred is a drop in the bucket compared to what we've already endured, and nothing compared to what we will endure in the years to come. I'd say give her enough rope and let her hang herself, but she's pretty well insulated, isn't she? Yep, battleship-class armor on that pretty pink bubble of hers. Do we really think that anything we say or do will make a damn bit of difference to her? I seriously doubt it. Frankly, dear, I don't give a damn. As I said, I have better things to do with my time, like earning a pair of master's degrees, in an attempt to make a fundamental change in the conversation about gender. I pick my battles carefully, and this isn't one I wish to fight. You very neatly avoided. No. um, well, I should probably, instead of like, I should probably cut that off right here. Yeah, it's an hour and a half long. There's 90 minutes on this week's transgender brouhaha. And well, it's funny because some people did tell me how cute I am and what a wonderful smile I have and what a kind, generous, gentle soul I am. Um, and these fucking trolls. Let's try it. Misogynist, trans misogynist. Oh boy. Anyway, that's that's about it for now. I think I'll respond to Michelle and with something else, and I'm sure the idiots will find something to be stupid about when I upload this. Um, and they they do the best they can to keep my views down, but I don't care. I'm enjoying life. Um, I'm finally able to be myself, and I've got good friendships forming, and I'm part of a really dynamic community, and we're getting ready to open a new store. Um, Ariana and I are doing a show next week in Tempe. Um, life's good. Fuck you idiots. Namaste, motherfuckers. Stay out of my face in February, you're gonna get hurt. Happy day. Thanks for watching. Bye.